Well, 8th grade, I was introduced to Tolkien, or rather, nagged into reading Tolkien by a friend of mine who had noticed that I was very much into Conan, as he was. And he told me that I would probably like Tolkien if I read it. And I was a bit reluctant at first because it was a big brick of a book. And, well, 3 big bricks at that time. I don't consider them bricks anymore. But I listened to him, and I started reading The Fellowship of the Ring, and I was hooked. I borrowed it at the school library, and I probably read 600 fantasy books ever since. And Tolkien is to blame, and in part Robert E. Howard. But yeah, I've never looked back, and I never will. Fantasy is here to stay. Thank you, Tolkien. Well, it's a scope, and it was the first epic fantasy I ever read, so it was just the vastness of it and all the lore that gets fed to you as you read the book. And Tolkien was quite clever about this because he basically let the reader learn about the lore as the hobbits did. So the more they're exposed to, the more you learn. And I guess it was the whole package, how incredibly, how much thought and work that must have gone into it to make a superb quality product. And Tolkien succeeded on every front. It's a 10 out of 10 book, there's no question about that. Well, my favorite was always a little bit of the fringe characters, in a sense. I always liked Boromir, and because he's a flawed character, and he falls but then rises again. As far as I know, he's the only one who's ever snapped out of it when it comes to the power of the ring, because he gets corrupted and he shakes it off and dies heroically. And I think there's something to be said for the strength of character, and I feel that's often overlooked with Boromir. And I guess Gimli, in a way, is one of the characters that has the most development in the Lord of the Rings, because he is a completely different person at the end of the story from when he was introduced. Him and Legolas. It's a favorite little plotline of mine. There to, their relationship growing, but the dwarves are the superior race, and that's the way it's always going to be. So Gimli over Legolas. I would say the Peter Jackson movies, the extended ones. Granted, there's a lot of changes, but you have to make some of those changes in order to adapt it to the big screen, because books and movies are two different, very different storytelling mediums. So I'm gonna say the Peter Jackson movies, because it kept everything in the Lord of the Rings that was important and respected the work. Disrespect is the first thing that pops into my head, because there's a lot of fantasy books out there, a lot of great fantasy series and all that, but Tolkien is special because it's ground zero, it's the holy grail for fantasy writers, and for Amazon to blatantly disrespect it the way that they've done is something that should not only piss off Tolkien fans, but it should upset every book lover out there, because what they're doing is not right. They're doing it for profit, and it looks like someone put some parts of Tolkien into some grinder, and whatever is left is being spit out on an assembly line and then put together in a lab, because that's what they think people want these days. That's not how you do art. That's how you do, junk food or shit like that. Which sadly seems to be enough for quite a few people. But yeah, I'm disgusted by what they're doing. I can forgive movie mistakes and some changes, but this is just pissing on one of the greatest works of our time, and that shouldn't be okay with anyone. So yeah, fuck Amazon for doing this.
As ever, this is Salty Texas Sea. I am Corey DB. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you've seen and heard, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you on board. That way you know, and we have things like live streams, which we are going to be doing every Tuesday evening. Take care. I hope you're having a great 2022.